Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I am a K-5 elementary music teacher in Northern Indiana, and I'm also the teacher author behind From Do-Re-Mi to You. I have been on summer break for a couple weeks now, loving every minute of it, getting to sleep in most mornings. We're going to be doing a bit of traveling. I've been doing some reading and gardening, and yes, a little bit of dreaming and scheming for next year. We're going to be doing a series on this channel geared more towards new teachers. This could be brand new elementary music teachers that just landed their first gig, and if that's you, congratulations. This could also be for music teachers that have been teaching secondary music and are transitioning to the elementary music classroom. So the next few videos are going to be geared towards you. Now, if you are a veteran teacher, I don't want you to think that these videos aren't for you, because there will be lots of good tidbits and information and inspiration for you as well. But if you are a new elementary music teacher who just landed their first gig, or transferring into a new position or a new building, you probably have a lot on your mind. You might be thinking, what does my room look like? What instruments do I have? How can I decorate my room? Do I have a microphone or a sound system? Where are my performances? There's so many questions to think about, and they're all valid concerns. I have seen a wide variety of teaching spaces during my time as a teacher. I have seen glorified closets turn into music rooms. I've seen former band rooms with all the space in the world, including an office. I've seen classrooms that are stocked with every instrument and movement prop imaginable. And I've also seen teachers make magic happen on carts and with very little. So if you are a new elementary music teacher, here are 5 things that all good elementary rooms should have. I think all good elementary music rooms have a logical flow to the room. That means when students enter the room, it's easy to tell where they're supposed to go or sit. That also means if you have other zones, such as a keyboard lab, xylophones set up, a calm down corner, storage, it's easy to access everything without creating traffic jams. Now, there's no one right layout to a music room because every room is going to look different in terms of size, windows, equipment, storage, etc. So at a minimum, you need to have an open space in your room to allow students to move and dance. If you have space to add extra seating beyond that, maybe you have a large room where you can have an area for chairs in front of a whiteboard and then another area that's open. That is great. But if you don't, like me, then use the spots on the floor so that open space can serve as a movement space and your seating place as well. Now, another note on seating. Kids need personal space. Particularly after the pandemic, I have found that my students need more personal space. Before, I would do 2 to 3 feet in between students, and now I usually do 4 feet in between students. And that's enough for most of my students. I have found, though, that spreading out my students does create issues with space when it comes to my growing larger classes. You also have to take consideration as to where students are sitting and their ability to see the board. So as you set up your classroom, sit in different parts of the room to determine if there are any glares or visual problems that students may run into. Another issue with flow is to consider your instrument storage. You probably don't really have any control over whether your storage is closed or open or where it's located, but you do need to factor in how often you or your students need to access that storage. So for example, I have some instrument storage that is closed, but as my class sizes have gotten larger and I've needed to add an extra row in the very back of my room, I have trouble accessing that closet when I have my really large classes. So those are all things to keep in mind. I will say in the 14 years I've been teaching music now, technology has come such a long ways in the classrooms. When I began in my current position, my sound for music came from 2 little dinky computer speakers in the back of the room. I had no microphone and was losing my voice multiple times a year. My projector was the only one in the building not mounted and said it was on a cart smack dab in the middle of the room where the cord to plug it in had to be about 3 feet off the ground, aka a perpetual game of limbo for my students. I tried to be fancy and used the interactive whiteboard that they gave me, but anytime that cart got bumped or we needed the space for movement, I had to recalibrate my board, which meant I had to get on top of a chair to reach the top of the whiteboard because I am so short. It was not efficient in the least. And I'm not going to even touch upon the ancient sound system that we had to rig up for our music performances in the gym, except for the fact that I cried after my first performance when I realized how bad the sound was. Needless to say, it's amazing how great technology can be when it functions properly in your room. So when you get to your classroom, take stock of the technology and equipment that you have and how it functions in your space. In my case, the projector wasn't mounted because of the cost and because the previous teacher did not use it. It wasn't worth it to the school to pay to have something mounted that the teacher wasn't going to use. But I was a new teacher and I was going to use it. It took a year of advocating for myself and observations from the principal watching the hazard of the cord in my room before they magically found the money to mount the projector. At a minimum, a good music room should have a computer of sorts, a projection system, that could be a projector and a whiteboard, an interactive whiteboard, or a smart TV, and a sound system that projects audio that you play and hopefully amplifies your voice in a microphone. Have I been told no when it comes to getting certain technology? Absolutely. But if you never ask, you'll never be told yes. Now, I don't want this to be a case of the haves versus have-nots, because I've seen amazing music teachers with the most well-stocked classrooms, and teachers make absolute magic happen with very little in their rooms. However, it is easier to teach music when you have access to a variety of instruments, movement props, and manipulatives. Before you go out and buy anything for your classroom, take stock of what you already have and anything that needs to be fixed or replaced. I liked using David Rao's Ultimate Classroom List, which I will link below, as an inspiration for building a good instrument collection. I am still building my instrument collection as my classes grow and as I adapt to teaching over the years. I think it's really important to keep a running inventory list of all the instruments you have and their condition. And I will link below the inventory system that I use that also includes a wish list. Now, a few notes on instruments. For xylophones, you can do great things with just 5 or 6 xylophones. If you're working towards a class set, I would recommend just 1 metallophone for every 3 or 4 xylophones. For unpitched instruments, you don't need a full class set for most things, except maybe rhythm sticks or hand drums. For a lot of other instruments, you can get away with just 6 or 8, maybe 1 per row, and take turns, or maybe half a class set. You don't need a full class set of triangles, I promise you. For movement props, take account the space that you have and see if there's anything that you can share with your gym teacher. For example, as much as I want to use the gym teacher's parachutes in my music room, the height of my ceiling and projector prohibit me from doing so. So I've invested in a couple smaller ones that can fit in my classroom. When it comes to manipulatives, it is easy to go down the rabbit hole and scour the Target dollar spot in hopes of buying anything that you see demonstrated on Instagram. Consider the longevity and flexibility of any manipulative that you purchase. Are you going to use it just for one activity, one time a year, and then store it in a cabinet just to be forgotten about? Yeah, I've done that many times. Consider, is this something that I can borrow from another teacher or maybe split the cost to make it more effective? For example, my PE teacher counterpart and I went in on stacking cups together. She uses them for stacking games and I use them for cup games. Let Mama Erin come out here. As a new elementary music teacher, you do not need every fun little gadget and manipulative that you see on Instagram. They're fun, but don't blow your spending money at the dollar spot at Target. Be careful. Choose a couple small items that will give you longevity. I love the flexibility of using rhythm beat strips or solfege strips for practicing rhythm and solfege concepts. They're easy to print off and laminate, and then I can use small holiday erasers or counting chips to put in the hearts for rhythm or on the lines to show solfege. Other cheap and small ideas can include popsicle sticks, counting chips, and foam blocks. As teachers, we want our room to feel like a welcoming and homey space. There's a lot that we can't change about our room. Don't ask the district planners to add a skylight to your room, they won't get the humor. But we can still work with what we have to make it inviting for students. So as you decorate your room, be mindful that decorations and bulletin boards should have both function and aesthetics. Bulletin boards really ideally should have a function or a purpose. If you don't refer to it or don't use it, then it may not need to be there. That's precious real estate. One year, I had the great idea of using one of my bulletin boards in the front of the class to add maps. I had a US map and a world map. And my goal was to, every time we would sing a song from a different part of the country or a different country, I would put a push pin where that song came from, add a piece of string, and then have a little card with the song title on it. It was a great idea. I wanted to do it, but I did not keep up with it. I got about 3 or 4 songs in it, and then I stopped. It's tempting to dream up ideas and decorate every nook and cranny of your room, but I encourage you to embrace white space. Visual noise can be a real distraction for students. A study published by the Journal of Experimental Child Psychology found that too many visual stimulants in a classroom could not only distract students, but decrease learning. So before the fire marshal comes after you for covering your entire room in paper and decor, remember, functions, aesthetic, and white space. Last but not least, every good music room needs a welcoming music teacher. A school could have the most beautiful, well-stocked elementary room in the world, but no music class happens without you. A welcoming, excited music teacher is the key to making magic happen. You have passion for music and creating musical experiences for your students. So work on creating a safe and positive environment for your students, and music will naturally flow. If you are a new teacher, it's easy to feel imposter syndrome, but I promise you, your staff and colleagues want to see you successful. Hopefully your school has a mentorship program for new teachers, and while they aren't likely to teach music, they can still be a source to lean on for help like technology, classroom management, and understanding the traditions and culture of your school. Learning doesn't stop at the end of your bachelor's degree. Good teachers continue to learn. You can find your local Orifurca Dye chapter, read a classroom management book. If you're wanting a checklist, I like checklists, they're so helpful to me. I have also included my new music teacher survival checklist down below to help you prioritize what needs to happen throughout the year, quarter by quarter. I'll put a link down below. Whether you got hired in your position back in May or right before the school year began, or are transitioning from another position to a new one, I hope this video brings you lots of joy and excitement. Teaching elementary music really is the best. Happy musicking!